Go.
Okay, I'm gonna start out with the round little bulbs. That's all I brought today was the round ones. And here's some examples that I did, samples of kind of little simple patterns, but you can do whatever you want, but I just brought these to show you. I do have all these patterns with me, so. And I have some stencils here. There's some little birds, snowflakes, stars you can use. And so you can help yourself, whatever you want to do, if you want to do the bulbs. I also brought the oyster shells. And you can do either little Christmas scenes or you can do ocean. And I also have some patterns. Oh, I forgot to show you these two. Well, it's all right. Okay. So I made up some little seals and some little fish that you can trace onto the oyster shells if you want to. Makes it a little bit easier for you. So we have lots of shells. I got these down at Quinna Bay. So they're all washed clean. And we also have little shells that you can add on to them, like I did here, if you want to add some of the little shells to them. And I have glitter over there, every kind of glitter. And I also have some of the liquid glitter, so you can go ahead and apply it onto the outside. Kind of gives a little finished effect, so. I'm going to let Kathy go now.
Hi, I'm Kathy Conrad. Thank you, Shirley. As Shar indicated, this is kind of like a multi-project workshop, which is good because you can choose to do all or none, or all or some. But one of the things I'm going to recommend is that some of the ones that require drying, you do first, because some of the drying might take a couple of hours. That's why the hair dryer's here. I'm also going to recommend that if we get a nice warm sun out there, that you could just set your project out and let the sun dry it. I do that a lot myself. So I'm going to start with the first one that I'm going to recommend if anybody wants to do it first. And this is the texture paste on canvas. Everybody can, this is our supply thing over here. You come up and get a canvas. And this is an example of one that I threw together using, I got some string that I dipped in and painted onto using the texture paste, or I've got gesso that you can use also. I've got shells, real shells. This is supposed to be a stylized wave. And after I did all my texturing, that's when I came back and did the painting. And then I applied the shells, and then I gave it a shot of clear coat. This is a Dollar Tree frame, worked out perfect. So that is really one of the fun things that you can do. The other thing that you can do with the texture paste, if you want to make, looks like a shoreline on this a sand dollar ornament, the texture paste is good for that. I used, before I've got a whole mess of texture paste that I've made, but I use a golden texture paste primarily for this, but it takes longer to dry than the texture paste I made up. But again, I'll just set it outside, let it dry. But you'll want it to be fairly dry before you start to paint your background, paint your foreground, and then add your remainder of your doodads. Now this particular one and this one, come up and look at them. The molds that I use for these, I didn't get until like about a week or so ago. The molds that I have provided for you to use on this texture paste project or on your sand dollars are in these little baggies over there, and they are small shells. There's a seahorse. It's not as fancy as, and there's no turtle. But there's sand dollars and seahorses and shells, but there's also real shells and whatnot that you can adhere to it. There's also for this, there's shells, there also are small.
Go ahead.
Okay, there are small sand dollars that I have here. There's this size, and then in here, I've got smaller ones.
Whoa.
Don't be greedy. They're very fragile, so when you take them out, be very gentle with them. But there should be enough for everybody to have one. And typically what I do is I paint them. So that, because they don't all, though you bleach them, they don't always come out as nice and bright as you would like them to. And as Shirley indicated, she's got a ton of little shells over here that can be added on to any of your projects. And even though some of the shells that I used here are white, there are some that I just painted white, because that's the color I wanted, but you can paint them any color you want. So I also brought in a texture painting that I did a few years back of tulips. And the application for this, there's a number of ways you can do it. You can do this with a palette knife. What I do with this particular one is I take a brush and I dip the brush in the texture paint and I apply it with a brush, a dab of water to smooth it out and bring it around to where I want it. And that includes making waves. I'll put it on there and I'll kind of peak the waves with the paintbrush. I'm better at that than I am with a palette knife. I just haven't quite got it yet. And the project that I'm working on is so small, palette knife is so big. I did do using the texture paste that you'll be using today, I created this wave on a piece of glass, set it outside to dry. It took a bit longer because it was pretty thick. So I'm encouraging you to try to be conservative and how thick you make it if you want to actually work on it today in a dry state. But this just gives you an idea of what you can do with a brush and to create a wave. The other thing is the little gadgets that I made for you. I used in a mold. This is my new mold. And I use a air dry clay, primarily because I'm too cheap to do the resin thing. It's a pain in the butt. So I used the mold, I used the clay. But the one thing about the clay, if you've got a domed surface, you can't let this completely harden. You have to get it out and kind of gently massage it so that it's curved. But I put this in there yesterday afternoon, threw it in the car with all my stuff. And so today it comes out. So still a little bit wet, still needs to dry a little bit. But the crispy edges, I just take a small fingernail file and I brush them down so that they are, have a better finished look to them.
Kathy, where'd you get the mold at?
I got it on eBay. No, what is that? Amazon. I got it on Amazon, yes. It took me forever because my niece had one like this and I couldn't get a hold of her to find out where she got it. I mean, I spent 2 hours looking on Amazon. They got like 1,500 molds and I tried to specify down to exactly what it would look like and could never find it. I finally got a hold of her. I said, send me a link. So she sent me the link and then I ordered it. And I really like it because it's really flexible. And one thing I did find out is if I do more than one sand dollar at a time, using this clay, when you go to take it out, you might accidentally break the one that's resting next door. So I try to do one at a time or make sure whatever I'm doing is spaced far enough apart. So that said, I do have over here some samples of what some waves look like if you want to look at them, or you can use your phone. The phone's the best thing. This is what it looks like, showing you different wave action. And here's some possibilities using your texture paste. Now, one of the things that I have done before is that when I have a lot of texture paste, because we don't have that much for everybody today, but you can fill this up and you can create little more. If you're using this recipe you've got on the table, I make it a little thicker because if it's too runny, it just sort of like flops. So I use a thicker paste and then I can apply however I want. For instance, in making these outlines, I did put it on there and then I smoothed it with a brush with a little bit of water. Okay. Let's see here. Well, Shirley told you about the cones that she and I have spent the last winter going into people's yards, wink wink, friends' yards with permission to find the Cedar Deadar shell cone tips. And the reason I asked you to bring the tweezers is that in between each of these is a seed pod that you need to get out if you're gonna paint these things. Because when you go to paint them, you got that thing flopping in there and it really turns out to be a pain in the butt. This one has a little bit of a problem. I'm gonna go back there and use my glue gun and stabilize it. And if you're working with yours today, if you decide to use these, if you lose one of your petals, go back, get the glue gun and put it back together. But I really encourage you to take the seed pods out. Have to wiggle them sometimes, but if you get frustrated, leave them, it's all up to you. But when you paint them, you use a big thick brush and you just paint it white first, because that creates a canvas. And then you can paint your color over that. I've also brought with me for you to use leaves so that you can make it really look like a rose. So we've got leaves over there for that. Okay, we got the rocks. This is one I did the other day. It's just, I drew on here the butterflies. I've got some white pencils on each table, and then I painted them. First, I painted the butterfly white again.
Hold it up, yeah. No.
I painted the butterfly white completely, let it dry, then go back in and then paint the black and the orange and whatnot. Again, if you, I don't want to tell you to do this, but if you want to paint on just a regular rock, the color you want, it'll be dull. But if you paint it on a rock or an area that has been painted white first, the color really pops. So that is just my suggestion. And over here I have a dumber than a box of rocks box of different roundish rocks. Created some possible stencils for ideas, little crocodiles, different shapes of rocks that you can play with. Now these are thin pieces of veneer, and what you can do with these is paint something on them, and whether it's freehand or one of the stencils. And when you're done, you can get these pieces of wood at Dollar Tree and get yourself a frame, and you can paint the background, and then you can hot glue your finished piece on it and put it in a frame for a little wall hanging. It all depends on what you want to do with it, or just paint it and have it sitting around somewhere. All up to you. But this is, I'm always surprised at Mother Nature, how perfect she is and how smooth and how perfectly flat these things are. The other possible project, I only have 3 of these, is to do a tile, and comes with that you can paint this. This has got a little thing you can hook it up on the wall. You would hot glue your finished product, hot glue it really good into it, and gently place it in there, because once you set the hot glue on it, it's going to stay where it is, and if it's crooked, then you've got a problem. So it would go like that, and make sure that your thing at the top is where your design is pictured. And I have created possible templates that would fit in here that you could, and I've got tracing paper that you could trace these, make kind of a southwestern theme onto it. And I made them so that there was a margin around here, so they could be set on the middle, and then you can create a painted margin around it if you want. So with that said, let's see what else we need to do. We did the rocks, we did the sand dollars. There is one more sand dollar that I wanted to show you. I'll be right back, Carmen.
I'm following you.
You're following me. These are, I did using little appliques on them, but if you're just wanting to hand paint one, which is what I typically do. This is a lady walking towards the ocean.
How fun is
Stay,
that?
stay.
And again, it's all hand drawn. And there are steps to do these. Usually what I'll do is and if you're ready to do something like this, ask me. I'll walk you through the steps because you don't just start applying paint. You have to do it in different stages. So anyway, that's just an example. And if you have something, an idea you want, but you don't have your own example, and there's not an example there, ask Shirley and I, because we take pictures of all our work. And I've got like about 700 pictures of sand dollars, different things I've done. So if you say you want to have something with a cow on it, I got one with a cow on it, and I would find it for you so you could see what it would look like. So anyway, should I ask Barb if people have questions? Okay, if there's any quick questions, because then we can move forward.
Did you do the sample on an oyster shell?
Shirley did.
Oh, I missed it.
You
Okay.
missed it, yes. Shirley has some samples up here, and we've got the oyster. Everything you're gonna need to work on today is over here, and you just go over there and just hunt and peck and get what you want. When it comes time to spray, I have a piece of cardboard set up outside with a sprayer. Got 2 little lids that you can set your work on, because sometimes if you spray it, it runs off the edge and then you gotta dig it up after it dries. This is your texture paste. I don't know if I have enough to go around, but you're gonna have to share then. What I got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay. And we got how many people here?
7.
Okay, well, how about that? There are sticks here, you can stir it up, and then apply it with a brush, or with a palette knife, or with your stick, if you want. But it's, I made it yesterday. It's hopefully thick enough for you to work with. And if you need to water it down, don't water the whole thing. You might consider putting it on your plate or in one of the plates that have been provided for you to loosen it up a little bit, but I think you'll be okay with it with using a little water on the brush. But I think that's it, and we can do.
When do you use gloves, and where did you get
Okay,
those
the
tiles
gloves
again?
are primarily, if you were to use string, and you get the string all goopy, and you're gonna rope it around, like I did here, it's gonna get all over your hands. And again, this is a product that's made of glue and gesso. And I just don't feel comfortable with washing a whole mess of that stuff down their sink. So that's why I suggest you use the gloves if you're gonna be literally in it with your fingers. But if you're not gonna be in it with your fingers, you're just gonna use the brush or the palette knife, that will work. Although sometimes I've, kind of scooted things around with my fingers. But for the most part, I'm trying to keep from damaging their sewer system. Okay, I think that's it, and I appreciate you all being here.